you guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since we did another sit down video, and so I just wanted to take some time to do it. Today's drink of choice is Diet Ginger Ale with some ice. Cheers. So welcome back to our little sit down series. In my last sit down video, I talked about why I left Big Four accounting. There were a lot of you that commented, and it was really fun engaging in conversation with you guys to dive a little deeper and talk about the opportunities that can come after Big Four and what's out there. But I want to share from my perspective what you can expect coming out of college, or if you're in transition in job, what does that look like? Just for a little bit of context, because everyone comes from different backgrounds. I was born and raised in Vancouver. I went to school there, graduated from UBC, specializing in accounting and supply chain. I worked a couple of internships during my undergrad, working at EY. I worked at Labatt Breweries, Evo Car Share. My career was focused on working in Big Four, specifically in audit, and I wanted to write my CPA exam, which I did 2 years ago. Kind of crazy that it's been 2 years. After I graduated from my undergrad, I moved to Toronto and studied at the University of Toronto, and I did the GDIP program, which stands for Graduate Diploma of Professional Accounting. I highly recommend it to anyone that's pursuing a CPA. It really prepared me for the CPA exam. After I studied in the GDIP program, I started work immediately full-time at EY. I worked in audit there, specifically in the private businesses sector. After working in audit, I got headhunted to work for a tech company, and it's actually the company that I'm working for right now. I work as a financial analyst there. It's interesting because I'm called an analyst, but I'm also very much doing the accounting for that company and any financial planning and analysis work. Now, your question might be, why did I leave Big Four? I can summarize it really quickly here. Number one, for me, I just out of personal interest and things I like to do. I love to create content. I love to just share my life with the community out here. And so it's important that I can talk about what I do in my day that includes work. Anytime you want to bring in the name brand EY while you're working for the company, you need to get approval from several different levels. And this was something I learned as I was working. And unfortunately, I had to stop posting about my work and actually take down videos until I left. One of the limitations of working at a Big Four is that you are not allowed to take on any other jobs. So that might include partnerships and sponsorships with any other brands. This poses an independence issue, which I completely understand. I definitely miss this aspect of my life. That was a huge reason why I wanted to go somewhere else. The second big thing is the scope of work that you get to do. Within audit specifically, there's only so many ways you can do testing and all that. And in the end, you're still looking at retrospective numbers. You are basically just forming an opinion, whether you're confident in saying that they're free from material misstatements and all that. It's so different when you actually go into the field. And so that kind of leads me to the second part of this discussion today. I really want to talk about what's after Big Four and what kind of opportunities you can see. So let's get to it. Personally, I left at an intermediate senior level. It was a weird ranking system at EY because I worked the amount of experience to be senior, but because of the timing of it, they held me back. I guess that's another thing that kind of drew me away. They don't necessarily reward talent. They care more about the hierarchy and the politics that goes behind. When you're working for such a big company, it's really hard to feel your value and importance. So I would summarize 3 main things that you can expect coming out of Big Four accounting/consulting. Number one, it is the opportunities. I think a lot of companies recognize that if you've been in the Big Four system, you have some type of grit, perseverance, and you can work under pressure to some extent. And so I think that's what makes it enticing for recruiters to specifically handpick candidates that worked in the Big Four field. And so recruiters are open to hiring, and you might not necessarily even go into an accounting/finance role. I have friends that went into marketing or an operations role, completely different. The second thing that you can expect coming out of Big Four is the experience. When you go into industry, you'd be surprised by how organizations are structured in a way that people are really just siloed into doing one thing. Now in audit, you are siloed in doing audit work. But I think because you get to see different teams, you're forced to adapt. Now, in my role, particularly in a startup, and also I'm wearing 2 specific hats, I have to see a lot of different things. And so being able to work on different teams allows me to bring in that experience to work with different department heads and just collaborate on cross-functional projects. I really appreciate the experience there. That's helped me in my current role. Now, the third thing that I think is really important too, it's the networking. When I was a student, I met a lot of incredible people. I worked on teams where I had a senior or a manager, senior manager that are just so talented. And when they leave the Big Four, they go on to do even greater things. I cannot count the number of people that I still keep in touch with, still admire and look up to, and just seeing how they're thriving. The world is so small. You never know how your paths might cross. Even in business school, met a lot of amazing people, and to this day we're still connected, whether through like social media, LinkedIn, whatever. And you just never know if they need a referral or they need to learn more about a specific role, vice versa. And so I am really grateful for the relationships. Those are the 3 super positive things that came out of Big Four for me. So what can you expect just being in industry right from the get-go or coming from Big Four? First, there is a pay jump for sure. I don't know why it's a thing because Big Four companies charge so much money, but because of the prestige that they hold, I think it compensates for the lower salary that they pay their employees. It's not like it's super low, but for the hours that people are working, sometimes it's actually worse than minimum wage. So if you think about it, in order to get into Big Four, you have to go through all this education, experience, networking, whatever, and you still get paid below minimum wage for the work that you do that requires education in order for you to do it. So it's kind of ironic there. I definitely feel like the Big Four pay should be higher, but on the bright side, in the industry, it's usually higher. And hopefully, your company tries to match the rest of the industry as well. So it's quite competitive there. The other thing that you can probably look forward to, an improved work-life balance. For me personally, I've had seasons where it is super busy and probably more mentally stressful because I am the only one that can do the work with my manager, and there's just no one else that can do the work. You have to find a solution. And so in some ways, it's more stressful that way, but the number of hours is usually lower. But I would say, though, if it is longer, I think the higher pay compensates for it. So it's kind of like a little trade-off, but for the most part, way better work-life balance. And just being able to get to know your team and the rest of your colleagues. Little break. I feel like I can talk about this all day, but I'll stick to one more point. Something you can expect more of working in industry is the ownership, the weight of responsibility in your role. I say this because in an audit team, for example, I feel like it's just the culture itself. People are easily turned over and it's just a matter of number. So anyone can really be the next auditor. And you're looking at other people's work and their mistakes. In that regards, we don't have that weight of responsibility. Sure, we have to finish our tasks, still make an opinion like, oh, if there's fraud, then we're going to say there's fraud. In the end, it falls back on the people that are working in the industry. You might be working one section of payroll, but you're making sure people are getting paid. And even for me, there's no one else that is entering the journal entries that I am putting in for this whole company. And we report these numbers to the government. The weight of responsibility falls on me. I think it's a cool test. It's a cool test to your character. Overall, I am really grateful for the experience that I got in Big Four. I don't think it's for everyone, and I don't think everyone needs to go through it if you're in accounting/finance, because there's so many other opportunities out there. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let me know if you want to hear about any other topics. Write that down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!